There's one.
Right. We should you should use as a court, but maybe not tennis. You know.
Although they say tennis is coming back.
Goes back in your drawers.
It's 6:30. I'll call to order the regular meeting of the City Council. Stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you remain standing, doors here for the invocation.
You want to pray with me? There. Right there. Ready? Let's pray. God, thank you for a beautiful fall day. We thank you for the safety of the farmers in the fields and for our community. And there are a lot of great things about this community. We pray that we would always be thankful for what we have, and that we would do our best to take care of what you have given us. Give the City Council wisdom today. Give them clarity of mind and clarity of thought. Help them to do their best to serve their fellow neighbor. Amen.
Thank you, Thor. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda for tonight?
Maybe I have one. I don't know if you want to cover it, but
Oh, go ahead.
there's a addition to local improvement. Then we have the waiver to appeal that was included in the agenda. They decided they did not want to go through that now, so we wanted to remove that from the agenda. I think it was
10-8-5.
correct. Yeah.
Okay. Any other additions or deletions? Hearing none, we accept a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion and a second for the agenda. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. There's no public hearing. At this time, if there's anyone here from the public that wishes to address the council on issues that are not on the agenda, just step up to the podium with your name and address.
Public comment?
Public comment, yep.
Okay. Jeff Harbor. I'm here to talk about the situation that you all know about from previously. First off, I'd like to thank George Landite for asking for delay from the last meeting. I totally missed it, I guess. I didn't see that I was on the agenda, but appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk again tonight. I do have a few questions, and after I realized that it's public comment time, that's why I didn't get any answers last time. So if I seemed a little bit perturbed about it, I understand that you can't answer anything, but I do have some questions. I asked to be on the agenda tonight, and I talked to Diane, and she checked it out and told me that I can't be on the agenda by the request of the city administrator, and I asked why, and because of the reason was potential pending litigation. I also wonder why 5-6 weeks ago I had approached George Landite in regards to this issue, because that's what I thought I had to do, is contact the council members. That time I was told that he couldn't talk to me because of pending litigation or potential pending litigation. And so, okay, I'm not sure what all that meant. Last week I went out and seen Tony. I guess the pending litigation's still going on, and asked him about it. He couldn't talk to me. I respect their wishes. I never pressed them any further. But I would like to know why it's potentially pending litigation. I haven't talked to a lawyer. I have not hired a lawyer. and yet it's under potential pending litigation. So that's one of my main issues that I've had with this whole process. I wanted to resolve this without lawyers, because I thought it was pretty much fairly simple. That was from day one. I didn't want to involve having to deal with lawyers and everything. I just thought that we should be able to come to an agreement through discussion with you folks as council members and the city administrator. But obviously that isn't the direction that everything went, I guess. There's also the question I've got about this the law that states the city can't reimburse for, what I've spent over 40 years or close to 40 years for the sewer fees. And I've looked high and low. I can't find anything. I don't know if anybody will be able to tell me where the law is. But it just seems strange to me that you can't find it, but yet there's a obscure law out there. Maybe it's not obscure. Maybe, if a lawyer, actually, if I had talked to a lawyer, he would have been able to tell me about it. But I still haven't been able to find that. And so I'm not sure why I'm a threat to you guys as far as making sure you can't talk to me. That part of it, the pending litigation, just doesn't make sense to me at this point. So what I did find out, I found out on my own with the let's see here, I gotta find it in here. The issue with the I have it written here, I just gotta find it. Apologize. Well, with the discovery rule for the code, the state code for let's see. Oh, and the statute of limitations and discovery rule, I looked that up on my own, and so I haven't talked to a lawyer. With this law that supposedly doesn't allow you guys to have to pay me back, I'm not asking for the full amount, but I've been in business 40 years, or close to it, and anybody that's in retail business or serving the public wouldn't be able to get away with the same type of situation. If I did that to any one of you, or you were in a business and did it to any one of your customers, whether it's a service side or a retail side, we'd be held accountable for that. There'd be some legal issues more than likely, and my reputation would be on the line if nothing else. And I just think that, as a business owner, I have to be accountable to my customers. So why shouldn't the city have to be accountable to their customers? I am a customer for the city. To the council, the question I had is, who elected you? The citizens, the taxpayers did. The question I've got is, in the future, is this how things are going to be handled? This is the first time, I think, this year that you've probably had an issue like this to deal with, or any kind of issue that would involve potential litigation, so to speak. If it doesn't go well with me, is this going to keep something where you don't communicate with your, taxpayers or the citizens of the city? I've never experienced this in 40 years. I've never seen anybody not be able to talk to the council. Usually, you try to work things out that way. Is it that the city administrator doesn't want to deal with this in personal, in my case, or what? From the beginning of this whole thing, I was just asking for common courtesy, try to work this out, make sure that both sides were taken care of. We both agreed, or well, maybe we didn't agree because I haven't had a chance to talk to anybody because of it. But somewhere along the line in the last 50 years, the city started billing for this, and maybe the previous landowner or the homeowner did not get hooked up. He didn't, obviously. But to me, that's a 50-50 problem. It wasn't just the guy that owned the property before me's problem. It became my problem, but it became the city's problem too once we found something out. But I just think that, I was hoping that we could be able to work this out, without having to do the pending litigation where I could at least talk to somebody. When I did go out to see Tony, this past week, and he couldn't talk to me, but I said, well, is there any common sense that some of the stuff that I'm asking for is common sense, and Tony did comment that, common sense isn't so common anymore, and I'm agreeing with that 100%, but why not? Why can't we do this in a legitimate, fair way? Can this be a fair outcome? Can there be a fair outcome to this issue? I hope so. I'm not asking the city for a cash payment or even all what I've paid over the 39 plus years. I'm asking for a credit. It's not going to cost the city really 1 red cent on the whole thing. It's going to be money that they've already gotten, and I'm asking for approximately half of what we've spent, or what I could prove that we could spend anyway. But there again, because nobody will talk to me, I can't even talk about it, working out an agreement, and without some communication from you guys. Later on in this meeting, you guys are going to vote on this, and I hope the vote is against what the city administrator would like to do, and you guys vote your conscience and how you would like to be treated in the same situation if you were standing in my shoes. So, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Jeff. Anyone else for public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent calendar.
I'll make a motion to approve the September 14th minutes, the work session minutes from September 14th, the special council meeting minutes from the 21st, approval of the municipal accounts payable without Breakthrough Beverage and without Sanford, and approve the municipal accounts receivable.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? We call the vote.
Jones?
Aye.
Tell?
Aye.
Landine?
Aye.
Cheeks?
Aye.
Mayor Peterson?
All right.
I'll make a motion to approve the municipal accounts payable to Breakthrough Beverage.
I'll second
Got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? We call the vote.
Tell?
Aye.
Cheeks?
Abstain.
Oh, yep. Landine?
Aye.
Jones?
Aye.
Peterson?
Aye.
I don't think there was any.
So I didn't say anything for Sanford unless somebody else did, so.
I didn't.
In the consent calendar, mayor council communications. Does anybody have anything? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the staff reports, department heads. Val, would you like to go first?
Well, we've got the basement all put back together and looking beautiful again. We had a little repair on one of the cabinets that had to be done, and the carpet was cleaned. Otherwise, it turned out pretty well, and we've got a lot of interest in using it right now, so that is really good. If people are interested, I've got information on the website, or give me a call or stop by, and we'd love to have more people using it. And now we're just hoping to have some sidewalks here pretty soon and get back to a little bit more normal. Any questions?
I'm glad to see that it's picking up, and that basement is a wonderful asset. It should be. If
Yes.
nobody's been down there to see it, you need to take the time to go and enjoy it. So, thank you for promoting that. Anybody else for Val? Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief?
I really don't have anything to add other than the memo I wrote you and the list of activities that were in there. Anybody has any questions about any of it, I can sure answer them.
Glad to see you got that one messed up property taken care of or in progress, so I appreciate that. That's all I have.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Peg, you have anything for us?
Oh, boy.
You guys got the report that I typed up, a little update on COVID. Of the grant money that we received of $159,000, we're at about $137,000 remaining. We will have that spent in no problem by November 15th, so that gives us 6 weeks to get it done. Utilities, there was a slight increase. Obviously, that would be expected because we had 2 utility bills due in August. But I did draw out where we're at with the past due. The fact that we can't disconnect at this point is definitely giving us some delinquency issues. So we've got about, $15,000 delinquent at this time. So those are being called, but we can't do anything as far as shutting them off at this point.
How many people is that, or customers or accounts or whatever?
17, 23, it's about 75 customers.
Out of how many total? Tough question, sorry.
About 920,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So in the overall scheme of things, but like I called out in there, 6 of them alone are 90 days past due. So you take a $100 bill, average a month, 6 people. You do that over 3 months, it adds up quickly. The liquor store, their revenue is down just a bit, $7,000. Not anything that should spike concern. Obviously, without Labor Day, we're going to see. It's not what we anticipated for the end of August going into September, but it still was a good month. Licensing is up. That continues to, those numbers continue to grow. Our biggest day, we had 21 licenses, and that was on August 31st. That's quite a few people coming through. Mainly that's because our station's open. We don't require an appointment, and we service for all of Minnesota. So we see people from the cities, we see people from Hibbing, we've seen them from Rochester, literally all over Minnesota. They come to Marshall and test, and then they send them over here to get their driver's license. Swift Lake was up considerably. August was $3,600, so that's $1,000 over what we saw in July. The only concern that I guess I would have is getting everyone through. We're rolling out with the new motor vehicle in November, and so we have a lot of training that we have to get done by then to be certified for that. And then obviously we're going to have to close down driver's license for a few days as we get the demo done to get the remodel in, because we will have to move the camera and take all that out of there. So once we have a date on that, we'll work with the state on getting that advertised, and then we'll get it out on the website and everything too. Any questions?
Is your new Min-Lars system going to be better than the last rollout? You heard anything on it yet? Or?
Yes, it has to be.
Okay.
Can it be worse?
No.
Well, don't ever say that.
The good news is they built it within FastDS, and that's what we use for driver's license is FastDS. So the fact that we're using a system that we're already using does give us comfort.
Okay. Anything else for Peg? Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Jeff?
Few things that I'll talk about. First thing, just your monthly update on the small cities grants. We are up to 18 applications, 16 of them are approvals, and 4 projects have already started. 4 of those 16 approvals have been granted some down payment assistance through a loan from the EDA. So again, we won't have any problems getting rid of all of that money. I took Dave Teagues' advice and to call into UCAP to see if they could throw us another couple of $100,000, and they said no. So just so you know that.
Doggone it.
So, but it just proves, and I think they know it as fast as we went through this money, and they were actually, in the last meeting I had with them, they'd never really seen this money go so fast in a city. So I believe in the next couple of years we'll be able to apply for this again. I think we could have got rid of another $200,000. I really believe we could have, or $200,000 or $300,000. The Broad Acres, just a quick update. The second one is being moved into today and tomorrow, and I have plans sitting on my desk upstairs of another one that is potentially going to get built. So the people were down at the developers, and they put a plan for a smaller unit out there, only 1,700 square feet. So hopefully that's going to get started here right away in the spring, so that'll be a nice start, and that'll be 75% full out there with a couple of units that are open for purchase. If you hadn't got a chance to look at them out there, there's still a chance. If you give me a call, I can bring you out there to show you two of the empty ones out there. Last thing I got there, I just want to talk a little bit about the COVID communications and the CARES Monies Act from the county. Right now, the city of Tracy has put in 26 applications. 16 of those have been approved for $120,000. When we started doing this, Eric and I, we kind of figured out with the amount of population we have here as opposed to Lyon County, I felt that we were entitled, if you want to call it, to about $210,000. I believe we will get our $200,000 to $210,000 out of the county. So that's without the money from the city that Eric and I will be handing out here in the next couple of weeks. We are under a little bit of pressure because the applications end for the county on October the 15th, and we have to have the money out of our account November the 15th. So it'll be a quick turnaround. But as you know, or if you didn't know, the application for the county is the same application for us. So we're going to be able to take a look at what the expenditures were for each one of the businesses that applied and get approval, and we will be able to get that money out right away. So we have a lot of happy people here in town. Very happy people here in town.
When will and maybe you don't know this, but when would the county make their decisions on the people that apply for the loan? When's their deadline to decide? Can they wait until the 14th of November?
There was a lot of talk, Jerry, about moving this all back, even from the counties, and having the state to move it back to federal, to everybody to move it back, but we haven't got any word that any of that's getting. So the current timelines that we have right now, October 15th to get in your application to the county, and then they're turning around, and they've given Eric and I they gave us one update. We're looking for an update every week. We'd like an update every 2 weeks, but
they're supposed to be deciding every Thursday as to who has gotten awards. And the county administrator is supposed to send them to me every Thursday, although that hasn't been regular. So we've gotten some. I think you said 13?
There's actually 19 of them there, which 16 of those are approved, but I just know that there's another 10 that are sitting out
so
there.
So we just don't have the documentation on those yet.
So I'm following up with the county and following up with the people because I can't call in. They're not going to give me any information, so I follow up with the business saying, hey, send an email if you need to, saying, did you get my application? Out of that $120,000 that's been approved, we've already got, I would say, half of that, $60,000 of it's already in the hands of the businesses here in town.
Well, I was just wondering how fast you guys were going to have to turn around if the county denies someone's, because that's when then the city looks at it.
We've dealt with that issue actually in a couple of cases already, and so there's a tracking spreadsheet that the county administrator sent me, and it includes businesses that were not denied so much, but just maybe needed more information from. And so we, Jeff followed up with that business and got that turned around pretty quickly. So we're on it. As soon as we get the information, the challenge has been getting the information from the county in a time that I kind of have to hound them for it a little bit. But we're getting it.
We're going to have over $250,000 put into the vein or pipeline of the city of Tracy for businesses. It'll be over $250,000 that from the county and the city. So it's a lot of money.
Well, I just didn't want the city telling you guys November 13th, the people that had been denied or were just partially
Yeah.
reimbursed or
Right.
got the money, that then it's too late for us to get them some from us.
Jerry, we'll also have to look at why they were denied and really go through it and
Oh,
take a
I
look at the
understand
application,
that.
and
But that's why-
where it'll take us some time to look
Yeah.
at those.
That's why I was just wondering
We're on it.
what the time was.
Yep. It's coming fast. Too fast. Way too fast. Okay. Okay, that's all I've got.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Okay,
So it appears that my report's still in my drafts folder.
Yeah, it was hard to
I'm working
read.
on sending that to you, but I can go over it real quick. So last month, we've been working on, we built up a little area for the school, for the softball fields. They're got a grant to install a batting cage there. So we brought them some dirt to do that. Other than that, Phase 3A project's moving along, as you can see. I know Kyle will touch on that here in a little bit. As you all know, I was here for the pavement maintenance plan, kind of finalized that. We did a little street sweeping. We were able to hit quite a bit of asphalt patching last week. And we had some more done today with a paving crew coming through some of the bigger patches than what we could handle. They took care of those today, so a lot of them got cleared up today. We'll probably still plan on doing maybe one more this week if the weather's decent. So other than that, we've been fixing some catch basins. We on the last one of them now for the 2018 disaster to get that closed out. Not a whole lot. Don't want to bore you guys either with everything here, but still kind of working on through the CARES grant for the airport mower. Doing a lot of maintenance, and then I guess the other big item that we've done, we spent probably over a week working on the aerator at our water plant. Probably seen us up there power washing and cleaning a whole bunch of little plastic pieces. We had that plugged up with iron and bridged on us, so we had to take that down and clean everything out to get our iron under control again. So other than that, anyone have any questions?
thanks for patching the dust spot. I appreciate that.
No problem. Should be well packed.
It looks like it, yeah.
Eric, can I add one more thing? Real quick. And if you want to get this out there and for all of you or everybody in here, one of the only real, for that CARES Money Act from the county, the only real rule, I guess you could say, I mean, yeah, you got to have your taxes paid and things like that, and you got to be in good standings, but you have to have be able to show a more than 10% revenue drop from March through July of 19 to 20. That's it. 10%. And you can apply for this money. And if anybody needs help filling out an application, I will help them fill out the application. I'm going to be helping somebody tomorrow, a new one that I talked to just a few minutes ago. So if anybody knows of anybody, and I've called, but I know I'm going to end up forgetting about somebody, and there's going to be somebody upset that they didn't get in on that. So if you know of anybody, we put it in Facebook, in the city's Facebook, my Facebook, the chamber's Facebook. We put it in the newspaper. Just have them call me. Even if you can think of somebody, and even if it's somebody I've already talked to, no big deal. But if you've got an idea, just let me know.
Are you done?
Well, yeah, I'm up next.
No, Eric is actually.
I don't have anything to add because I'm going to talk about the budget later, so you
Okay.
can go to the next item.
Oh, sorry.
Now you're up next. So, the next item then would be Resolution 2020-59.
Okay, Lyon County EDA proposal. I'm just gonna read this to you as what I put together for all of you, and I know you had a chance to read it in your application or your packet there. The background in this is forming a coalition with the cities of Lyon County has been a topic of conversation for months. The plan is to possibly hire a person who would work on EDA-driven topics within Lyon County that the current EDA staff of all the cities might not have time for. It is recognized that economic development is in the forefront of moving Lyon County forward with some additional help that would include a possible FTE for the county and marketing for exposure. The county, 2 weeks back, committed, if the plan goes through, the county commissioners, they dedicated $75,000 a year for the next 3 years. The county then asked the group to go back to see what the temperature would be for the city involvement. The county commissioners are looking for a plan that would help the whole county since they are putting up a large share of the expenses. Budget implications. While Eric and I can't give you an exact amount that Tracy would need to commit, I can tell you that everything that we have discussed thus far will be based on the particular city's population as a base. So if the county's portion is $75,000 a year, is 50% of what the total amount would be, the remainder would fall upon the cities, with obviously Marshall being a large portion of the population, so they'd have a larger portion of the money that would be committed to this. Just the recommendation that Eric and I talked about would be to commit to this economic development program for 3 years. Even though you're committing for 3 years, you don't have to get into it initially. We can say no tonight to the whole thing. We don't recommend that, or I don't recommend that, because I believe that with a little bit of Eric and I's influence on it, we can make this program work. That's a lot of money to throw into marketing for Lyon County. And we want something to be helpful for the city of Tracy, but I also know that anything that helps for anywhere else in the county will bleed over to Tracy also.
You mind if I add?
No, you go right ahead. Thank you.
You know, I just want to say a couple things. I mean, one is that the amount of influence that Jeff has had on this is already great. The $75,000, to be candid with you, is directly from Jeff. And so we think we have a certain amount of influence because there's desire to do something and they want our participation. The other thing that I'm going to say is that there's not a lot of risk in this particular signing this letter tonight, because the last line basically says that if you get to the end and you don't like the agreement, you don't have to do it. And so basically it's just committing to stay engaged in the process, not a commitment to doing anything yet at this point. There will be a commitment to do anything if something is successful down the road, but it gives us an out, you know, but we think it's important to stay engaged, and I think we've done a pretty good job so far.
I would agree. I mean, I sat in on one of them meetings, and the county is committed to it. They just needed a little push, and thank you for that, Jeff. But I think we should support that program. That being said,
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2020-59 with the county EDA commitment letter. Because like you said, technically it's just a formality right now, because we can say we're not going to do it down the road.
That's right.
And because there's always room for discussion, correct?
Yep.
Because I've already voiced my concern to both Eric and to Jeff, and I think I probably even said it at a council meeting, that I just want to make sure Tracy's interests are being addressed. We've been, I'll just use the word shafted, in the past by it all going to Marshall, and we put in the money, we put in time, and then we come out with the short stick. That's my concern entering into something. I want to make sure we're not on the short stick. And that's where I'm going to put my trust in the two of you right now, to make sure that if we enter into it, there are some I don't want to say guarantees because guarantees are not guaranteed, but that we're just going into it with our eyes wide open, not like in the past where we kind of were surprised. So, that being said, I'll make the motion to approve this resolution though.
Second it.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I just think as long as we got Jeff and Eric on our team, we're gonna be all right. We got our two best sharks on it.
I would agree. Any other discussion? Call the vote.
Landite,
Aye.
Teigs,
Aye.
Powell,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Mayor Peterson.
Aye. Motion carries. You're up again, Eric, with the resolution for the proposed levy.
You bet. This is really kind of, the next two items are kind of related to the budget, you know, in reality. And I'm just going to give a brief presentation, particularly for the public, since they weren't able to, we didn't televise the study session on the budget workshop. But, so I had just kind of a brief, you know, version of that. Just to kind of explain, you know, where we are with that. Now, the first thing I want to say is that, of course, this is the preliminary budget. You'll be adopting the final budget in December, and so everything here is still subject to review, but this is a proposal that the public can view and comment on, and the full proposed budget is on the website with the entire packet for tonight's agenda, so if you as a citizen want to review it there, you can certainly do that as well. And so let me just talk first about the kind of budget philosophy that we had this year, which is a little bit different than we've done in the past. I like to think about the budget as a strategic planning tool. You know, you want to put your resources in the things that are important to the community. So we had a discussion back in June, as you know, about what the priorities of the city council were, and came out with 4 broad goals. And we have tried to direct as much resources as possible to focus on those goals. Also look to kind of incorporate some new budgeting best practices. We're changing our chart of accounts. Now the chart of accounts, of course, is, you know, how you identify expenditures on a particular line item. So a line item might be, you know, an expenditure that Shane does for a road. And each one of those is a specific line item in the budget. So we're adopting what most cities in the state of Minnesota do, which is the Minnesota Model Chart of Account from the state auditor. And that'll give us an idea of how we can compare against other cities, and we'll be in line with what other communities in the state are doing. Incorporating the council goals. Really had a goal of simplifying the budget. We have probably too many funds, more funds than we need, which is, you know, Aaron from our auditor a couple weeks ago talked about this a little bit in the audit in terms of being able to simplify things and having more funds than what we need. And so we eliminated about 15 funds. It's about 40% fewer line items we've had in the past, and we're actually probably getting more information out of it with fewer line items because we have fewer funds. And we included some financial planning information, long-term, some income statements, because, you know, a lot of people don't, government accounting can be kind of complicated. You have the water fund, for example, and that money is supposed to be, that we receive for the water fees, are supposed to be used for water-related things, and this for the sewer fees for sewer-related things, and your general taxes for general kinds of things. And we usually try to keep those separate. And so you want a business like the water business or the liquor store to make money and stand up on its own, and that's what this budget is designed to do. So what did we do from a process standpoint? So we reviewed the 2019 budget, any actuals from 2019, as well as the expenditures that we kind of had in the first half of 2020. We incorporated your council goals, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Went line by line and reviewed them. Had some discussions with the department heads, both as a group. They presented their actuals to budget in a presentation meeting that we had in May. And then ultimately kind of created the budget from scratch, because the new chart of accounts is quite a bit different, and so it's hard to compare, you know, previous years to this one when you're looking at individual line items, because the line items are different. But we used historical information when possible. I would consider this to be pretty much a zero-based budget where we started from scratch and said, okay, well, what do we need as a city? And how are we going to accomplish what we want to accomplish? And so this is starting from ground zero. So this is what you would call a consolidated income statement. This is basically just how much money we bring in and how much money we're spending. Now, the citizen might look at that and say, oh my gosh, you're spending $12.5 million and you're only bringing in $8 million. That's terrible. You know, if I did that, I couldn't survive. One of the things that I need to clarify about that and illustrate is that we use the accrual method of accounting. And what that means is that we recognize the revenue when it comes in and the expenses when they occur. Well, we sold some bonds about a year ago for the street project. And so that revenue came in 2019. And since we already recognized that revenue in 2019, we can't in 2020. So we're basically, the reason why we're over so much is because we're spending that bond money from 2019. That's exactly how we intended to do it, because the street project takes more than a year to do. It takes multiple years to accomplish it, as people know, because they can see what's happening out there. And so that's mostly what's going on in there, just from a public standpoint and from your standpoint. We are expending a couple of other large expenditures other than the street project from fund balance. This is money that we have in savings from previous years that we didn't spend. One is the budget recommends that we're spending $362,000 on additional street maintenance, and that's coming from money in fund balance from the sewer fund. And also we have some carryover projects at the airport. We received a pretty large grant this year, about $360,000. And we're going to be using that money to start some projects at the airport next year on some new hangars that'll be completed, started in 2021 and completed in 2022. And so that again is money we're receiving this year and expending next year. And so the revenue is going to show up now, but the expenses later. So that's why you see that information. We're proposing a tax levy of $1.2 million, pretty similar to last year. It's a 3% increase. That represents about $20,000, $25,000 more than last year's. I wanted to make sure that we were very prudent with that. I mean, what you have told me as part of your goals is that we want to be fiscally responsible and not spend too much money and not increase taxes, more than we need to. And so this budget represents that kind of prudence that you've done in the past. It also represents a 3% increase in the water and sewer fund and the solid waste utility and a couple of other minor fees. That is really to pay for our debt service. The increases specifically in the debt service are because of the street project. You did, it was before I came, a fee study at the end of 2019 to look at how are we going to pay for this debt service, the bonds that we have to issue for the street project. And we're following their advice and increasing those fees in order to pay for that. Because it's one of those things that people I don't think understand that, or don't know that the street project is entirely paid for water and sewer fees. Other than individual assessments that you might have on a house, there aren't any taxes going into that project. It's entirely being paid for by those fees. So that's kind of what we have, going on. If you break it down by department, we have 60% of our money has been spent on public works right now, and that's because of the street project. Another 25% is really in administrative costs, and half of that is actually our bond payments, because that's where what department where that lies. And then you can kind of see the the breakdown from there in terms of various departments. The liquor store is a very large part of our budget as well. When you're talking about $800,000, and so that's how it kind of breaks down on a pie chart by department. This is an important piece of information. 2021, our debt service is about the same as it has been in the past, and this is how much money we're spending on our debt every year. $1.5 million is what's projected in 2021. We have a large debt service compared to communities of our size. The trick is going to be what happens in 2023. because that'll be when the street project ends, and we will begin paying on the bonds for that street project. Because right now, even though they gave us the money, we're paying a little bit of interest on that, but we're not paying the full cost of interest and principal on those bonds. We'll have to start doing that in 2023, and then our bond payments jump up quite a bit compared to where they are today. And that's a challenge in the next couple of years that we're going to have to navigate, and that's why we need to make sure that we follow our schedule that our financial company set out for us in terms of our water and sewer rates, because that's how we're going to be paying for that debt service. So that's kind of the connect the dots here, is that the fees associated with our water and sewer fund are really associated with those increasing debt service because of the street project. And so, yes, it's tough sometimes to have to try to pay those increases in fees, but really it's about what you're getting for your money. And you can see it out there being constructed right now. What are we building next year? A lot of it is the street project. We've got some other things in other departments, though, I can highlight. We have got some new turnout gear for the fire department because that equipment is expiring. We have a new snow hauling truck because that piece of equipment is from 1972. Most of the rest of it is airport, and that's the vast majority of that is grant money from the federal government and from the Minnesota Department of Transportation. So that's not coming out of our pocket for the most part. It's coming from those other people, but that's why those numbers are so big. And we're spending, $362,000 to up our game on street maintenance. And again, most of the rest of it is in the airport. The thing that I want to point out is the lap pool boiler. We deferred that from this year because we did not open the pool during the summer. But I wanted people to know that, and we had committed at the time to make sure that was going to get done before next season, and that's in the budget. You had set out 4 council goals. The first one is really marketing the city. How do we get people to come, not just to visit, but to live? We're going to be looking at totally revamping our web presence next year. So there's about $40,000 in our budget for that. That's about $40,000 more than we're spending on marketing, just so you know. And so we really want to promote the city, not just as a place to live, but a place to come and see things like Boxcar Days, Wheels on the Prairie Museum, things like that. We're also going to pursue a CARES Act grant to enhance that money. We're writing that right now and have not submitted it yet, but if we do that, then we'll also be bringing in a person specifically funded by that grant in order to administer this program while we have the grant, which we're hoping to be over 2 years. Infrastructure was another big goal. We're spending a lot of money on infrastructure in 2021, huge amount of money. We think phase 384 and 382 will start in 2021, and then the additional street maintenance to improve the quality of streets that you would like to do. We've got a financial strategy was the third goal. We're changing our budget process. You already authorized new software, which we're in the middle of beginning to learn, and we'll have the first part of it installed on January 1st, 2021. And this position this budget also includes a new position for finance director, which is something we've had in the past, and something that we feel, and sent you a job description on that, but we feel is important because the city's finances are really complicated for a community of our size. The amount of money that we're bonding for, the amount of debt that we have, the amount of projects that we have going on, the complications in terms of the various enterprise funds, water and sewer and liquor, it makes it a bit more complicated than a lot of other communities our size. So I feel like we need that level of expertise. The last one is housing. We're going to do a comprehensive plan update in 2021, which hasn't been done since 2000, so 20 years. The Planning Commission has already started working on that. We've got to sell the additional broad acres lots. Jeff mentioned the success that we're having out there. We're also would like to complete the sale of O'Brien Court, and we're going to start looking at Orchard Lane, and if that's something we want to start potentially sell as well. We subsidized that this year quite a bit, and we're going to look at some models for that. There's some community development block grant loans that we're still doing on the small cities grant that'll be administered next year to people can qualify for to make improvements to their homes. And so those are the things that were specifically in this budget related to your council goals. And with that, I'd entertain any questions on the budget that the council might have. And I tried to go through that really fast as I could anyway. Thank you for entrusting me with this. Are there any questions?
Got one comment, Eric, and it's just echoing what we talked about last Monday night. Having been here for 12 budget cycles now, this is the cleanest, most simplest budget that we come across. It's relatively painless when you stop and think about it, and I really appreciate your efforts in getting this done.
Thank you, Mayor, and we'll have to have some further discussions about this, and of course about the final one. So there's 2 items on the agenda, and you want to do it separately. The first one is Resolution 2020-60, which is basically just setting the preliminary mill levy. This isn't the final mill levy, but the county needs to know that by the end of this month, and then adopts the preliminary budget. So both of those could change, but the mill levy cannot go up, and it can only go down between now and December. And then setting the truth and taxation date for December 14th, where we'll have a public hearing to listen to the public. And that's the day that we will also adopt the final 2021 budget and final mill levy.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2020-60 for the 2021 proposed levy.
I'll second it.
We got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Call the vote.
Chow,
Aye.
Landine,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Teagues,
Aye.
Mayor Peterson.
Aye. The next item then is to set a motion to set the taxation hearing date of December 14th at 7 p.m.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
We got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? We call the vote.
Jones,
Aye.
Chow,
Aye.
Teagues,
Aye.
Landine,
Aye.
Mayor Peterson.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item, 2020-62, a donation and authority to apply for a grant.
Thank you, Mayor. This is kind of one of these things that is an opportunity. Shane and I have been talking about for a few weeks about, what do we do about Central Park because some of that play equipment is old. And then sometimes these things happen. About that same time, I had a citizen walk into my office and said they would like to donate $10,000 to the city to buy new park equipment at Central Park. This citizen wants to be anonymous, by the way, and so I'm not going to disclose who that is. But I thought, wow, Shane and I were literally just talking about this, and I actually had on my computer screen at that time a Department of Natural Resources grant page. They're talking about the grant cycle for playground equipment and other parks grants, and I thought, gee, I can't believe all this is happening all at the same time. It must be some kind of sign. So we talked about it, and we looked at some different playground equipment, and we don't have a specific kind of equipment we want at this point, but looking at the budget, if the DNR grants, by the way, are 50% grants every time, and so you apply and they give you half the money if you put up half. I don't think we've gotten one in quite a while, so I think we would probably be pretty competitive with that, although we wouldn't know for sure whether we would get it until sometime next year. The cycle is, at least last year, or this year I should say, in 2020, I'm assuming that it's going to be the same. It'll be in March sometime when we have to submit that grant. And so if we took $10,000 this donation, And we added to it some city funds, and that could come from a couple of different places, and I would bring it back to you as far as the specific source when we know if we get the grant. One possibility is CDBG money. We have some extra for that, and Jeff is checking to see if that's money that we could use for this kind of project. We have a little bit of extra in the 2021 budget from the general revenues that we could program it. We also have about $16,000, $17,000 currently in our capital funds, all total, so we could take it out of there. But there are places for that kind of money. So if we took the grant plus $20,000 in city money, and then added to that $30,000 in state money, it'd be a pretty good deal to get some new play equipment for Central Park. And so this just authorizes to start that process, accept the donation, and move forward with the grant application, which is going to take a little bit of a while because it's the state's deadlines, and then work with a landscaping company to create a play structures for us essentially. But that's what this is about, and with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
The party that's donating the money, they're okay with us not using it right away?
Yeah, one of the things that this resolution does, and this person is aware of that, and one of the things that this does is says, well, we're going to accept the donation, but restrict the funds specifically for only this use. And so we couldn't use it for something else even if we wanted to. But yes, this person is aware of the timing of how this is going to work. Yep.
Would we anticipate the playground equipment next year, or would it be 2022 that the actual
That's a good question. I think it depends on when they are able to give us the grant. It's possible it could happen in 2021. The state's on a slightly different fiscal year than we are, although for sure by 2022 if we get the grant. And if we don't get the grant, I think we could still get some play equipment. It just wouldn't be as big, and so we'd have to make that decision later on.
Well, could we go ahead and just assume that we're going to get this money and get stuff kind of lined up so we know what we want?
Yes,
how
and
much we would spend?
That's what we're working on. There's a company in Minneapolis called Play Structures, and they have been around for a really long time, and they do all kinds of designs for these kinds of things. And we were working with one of their reps, and they gave us some different ideas. And so I've actually got a design for a play structure. Not that it's final by any means, but the short answer is yes, we're already doing that work.
Well, here again, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2020-62, because it's more or less just saying we're going to accept the donation and give you permission to write for a grant.
That's right.
Still no commitment.
That's
so
right.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Go ahead and call the vote.
Powell,
Aye.
Teigs,
Aye.
Landine,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Mayor Peterson.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item is a resolution for pay app for Dunick. Did you want to fill us in, or
Kyle?
Kyle?
You're up.
Yes, I certainly can.
Didn't mean to wake you up or anything. That's
No, I'm just enjoying the budgeting and the levy
There you go.
information here, so I'm trying to learn a few things. But
So you're going to decrease the amount that you're taking?
well, that's kind of short notice, so I'll keep that in mind for the next one.
We have that recorded now, thank you.
Choose my words carefully here. No, but yeah, tonight the application for payment is just for this latest month of work out there. As you can see, they're starting to make their way along and almost get things buttoned up. The plan for the schedule this week is the next 2 days they'll be finishing up the concrete sidewalk work downtown. There's a possibility they could do some paving work, finish with the first layer of paving downtown either by the end of this week or the beginning of next. And then they'll have the final sodding, street lights, a few of those type of things to follow that too. So, any questions about anything that's going on right now? There's the other things, I guess, over the next month or two will just be, like I said, finishing up, cleaning up, restoration, putting the last layer of asphalt on people's front yards and driveways, and then by December 1st, I believe, is our final completion date on the project, that they have to have all those final details and everything completely buttoned up. Like I said, over the next couple weeks, it should be usable and everything in here. Just short of a punch list.
How close are they on their, to meeting the timeline for the substantial completion date of 1 October?
The substantial completion date on the project is October 1st, which is Thursday. Substantial complete is typically when the project can be used for its intended use. So what we would normally say, that'd be roads paved and drivable. Like I just said, they're either looking at having pavement done on the very end of Friday this week or next week, so a few days behind on that. So that is something that the contractor is planning to send us a letter or get us some information on, asking for an extension of a few days for that substantial contract completion date. That was discussed today at our meeting with rural development and the funding. They didn't raise any specific issues related to pushing things back a few days, other than the contractor would need to ask for that extension if their request is deemed suitable. If they had a good reason to push it back a few days, they might grant that request. If the city is okay with that too, it'd be an agreement of the city, the engineer, and rural development to grant them that extension. If not, there are liquidated damages that are a per day fee that the contractor would have to pay if they didn't meet that date.
Mayor, can I add something?
Sure.
Shane and I were in the meeting today that Kyle references, and after the meeting, I also had a conversation with Jeff from Rural Development, who called me, and basically, we need to make sure that this date for substantial completion actually matches what's in the contract. Right now the contract, since it's October 1st, and the contractors let us know that they're not going to be able to meet that deadline. What deadline they're going to be able to meet, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be very long. Maybe at the most, the 10th of October, so maybe 10 days. But they're supposed to give us some information. Well, it's supposed to have happened today. You might have, actually, because I think there was a Microsoft outage and I haven't gotten an email in hours. It was like the best day ever. But we'll be discussing that tomorrow, and we'll have to bring some kind of action back to City Council in order to make sure that the date for substantial completion matches the contract. There may be some liquidated damages in there. There may not, but you'll see that most likely in your October meeting, and they're okay with doing it retroactively too. So even though technically the project will be done before then, they're okay as long as the paper matches,
Yep.
essentially.
Okay.
Any other questions? I'll leave it to you then.
So hearing none, then I'd entertain a motion for the resolution 2020-64 for Dunick payment.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Second it.
A motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay. All those in favor, call the vote.
Jones,
Aye.
Landay,
Aye.
Powell,
Aye.
Teagues,
Aye.
Mayor Peters.
Aye. Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is resolution 2020-61. Resolution for denying payment to Greenwood Nursery on their petition.
And Mayor and Council, if I may, the resolution that's presented before the council to decide tonight is based upon not only the facts that the city investigated through its records, but the evidence and testimony provided by Mr. Farber at the public hearing. That is a facts that were concluded. That is based upon and applied to the city code and state statute. So if the city would review that, that is applying what was investigated and presented by Mr. Farber to the city code and the state statute, and that is the basis for denying the claim based upon the legal standards presented.
That being said, are there any other comments before we ask for a motion?
When do you,
Once we vote.
once we vote? Okay. I'll make the motion to approve resolution 2020-61, denying Greenwood Nursery their petition.
Seconded.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Call the vote.
McCall,
Aye.
Landine,
Council and Mayor, Jeff and Sue, I'm going to abstain from voting on this because I've known Jeff most of my life. I'm just having a tough go at this. So I'm going to abstain from voting on this. I apologize to the city and the council and to the farmers.
Gates,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Mayor Peterson.
Aye. Motion carries. Jeff, to try and answer some of your questions that we couldn't have before, got a prepared statement I'd like to read. We, the council, would like to thank Jeff and the members of the public who have been waiting patiently for the decision on this issue. It was not an easy one, and we've been carefully considering the issue. It's been difficult for us because we've been advised by legal counsel not to address this issue publicly. This has resulted in only one side of the story being told, and we believe it is important that the public know that there is more than one side in this issue. We'd like to say first and foremost that our consideration is for the community, the whole community. Any decision we make will affect everyone, not just Greenwood Nurseries. This is the reason we made the offer of settlement in the first place. We wanted to avoid an ugly scene and any harm that might do the community. Unfortunately, our generous offer was not accepted, and that has resulted in the controversy we never wanted. First of all, the city of Tracy is not remotely at fault. Our city code is clear, and the property owner is responsible for hooking to the system. The city's responsibility is to provide an opportunity to connect. We have fulfilled that obligation. Why the system was not hooked up properly is unknown and probably never will be known. And we had no responsibility to ensure that the property was properly connected to the main sewer line. If anything, Greenwood Nurseries has a complaint with the previous owners of the property. In short, it's not the city's fault, and we will not accept liability for something we did not do. Secondly, we have an entire city to think about when we make this decision, and not just a single business. What precedent would it set if we provided an exemption to our city code to satisfy the concerns of one person? That doesn't seem fair at all. It also seems unfair that if we were to give a special favor to one customer and the cost be paid by everyone else in the city. The water utility is maintained by our rates. And when we give away money, it affects our ability to deliver this service and ultimately affects the rates. To put it more plainly, the cost of this favor would be paid for by the taxpayers. The city council is obligated to follow the city charter and city code in making tough decisions like these. It's not always easy, or the results are the most popular decisions. However, we fulfilled our obligation and carefully reviewed and investigated this matter, applying the facts to our code. We understand why this decision might seem unfair to Greenwood Nurseries. That's one perspective. As a city council, we cannot make a decision that benefits one person that would very clearly come at the detriment of so many others. So. Moving on, Matt, you got anything else for us?
I have nothing additional.
Okay. Then we need a motion to...
Motion to close the regular meeting?
Second.
A motion to close the regular meeting to go into closed session to discuss property sales. All those in,
And then just list the address of the property.
What is the address?
If sorry, put you on the spot.
Oh,
Third Street.
321 Third.
321.
Street. Thank you.
Okay, you got a motion and a second, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Ron,
Motion carries.
you're cool.
Don't be afraid to